have joy without sadness. We can't have anger without gratitude. They go hand in hand, and that's why we need both. If we are only vibrating and only operating in the positive, how can we balance that instead of shoving some of these feelings under a rug? And some of you have written to me and say, but I feel so hopeless. The question is, okay, where do you feel hopeless or helpless in your own life? What is so bad about feeling these emotions that we're burying it under a rug? And what can those emotions illuminate in us so that we can actually do a cleansing, a clearing out of what no longer is? Hey loves, do me a quick favor and hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are tuning into this. It helps grow the show more than you know. Thank you so much again, and enjoy. Are you in with this toxic positivity trap? Like, I'm here to dismantle that. So I have the perfect card for us today. This is from my That Suck Now What affirmation card deck. This makes the perfect holiday gift. I know Diwali is coming up. Navratri season is here. And loves, this makes the perfect gift for anybody in your life. All right, I am learning to embrace all of me, my sadness, my anger, my rage, and also my beauty, my depth, my passion, and my love. They can all coexist. What a beautiful opening for today. So I want to really speak about, this good vibes only movement. And I know there's a lot of things happening in the world, and it can be toxic. It can be toxic, and it begs us to really either want to shield ourselves from the toxic negativity that is around. And I also want to add the dangers of doing that, because with the light, there's also the shadow parts of ourself. And the shadow parts of ourself are the parts of ourself that we dismiss, that we are embarrassed of, that we are ashamed of, that we feel guilty of. These are the dark sides of ourself. And now in any Disney movie, we have the light and we have the dark. We have the protagonist and we have the antagonist. We have the hero and we have the villain. And all of them show the beautiful contrast of who we are as humanity. We need the dark in order to see the light. We need the villain in order to see and believe and rise up through the ashes in the hero. And we need the shadow parts of ourselves to illuminate even more who we really are at our core. So while practicing good vibes is a great thing, I think we are also doing ourselves disservice. Now, I'm not saying you should be watching news 24/7. I'm not saying you should be pumping all of the negative thoughts that come in your mind, or judging every single ruminating thought, or judging everybody's, the people that are coming into your field, seeing if they have a kind of a double-edged idea or frame about why they're with you or anything like that. Nope, cut it out. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I am really wanting to bring up to you, especially as we get into, this full holiday season, the full end of the year, is to navigate this idea that we shouldn't really shield ourselves from what is going on in the world. And here's why most people who are in the positivity space, who are only thinking good vibes only, they have a beautiful mission. And their mission is to help you free yourself from negative thoughts in your mind, help you free yourself from beliefs, help you free yourself from some of the things and the toxicity that we see in the world, because that can weigh us down, and that can weigh even the most vulnerable, the ones who are super empathic, the ones who are super feelers, myself included, where if I see something like terrible news or the negative things that come up in my field, it literally can ruin my day. Literally. So here's what I do. And this is what I am also playing with, this idea of really leaning into and expanding my edges of discomfort. And when I feel hopeless or helpless by watching some of these things or reading some of these articles, and it infuses this rage, it infuses this anger, it infuses this hopelessness or helplessness or even depression and anxiety and overwhelm, all of these low vibrational emotions, what is it also bringing up for me that I haven't dealt with? And that is the question that I want to really ponder for today. What does it bring up for you that you have not dealt with? Because again, like I shared, we need the dark to expose the light. And that is what's happening in the world today. The dark is exposing the light. That's the light in you. And that's why your energy is so magnetic. That's why people want to be around you. That's why several of you, thousands of you, have found me here. And it's because there is a lot of dark. So can we actually have fun in the process? Remember to celebrate joy. Remember to be thankful for all of the things that are going well in our lives. And I'm not trying to negate that, but to notice, what is that in you? And I know specifically for myself, it brings me to a very, 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 very low and dark place that, okay, I've lived through, I've been through, I kind of don't want to go back there. And it takes me a lot to kind of get out of that funk. So I save some of those things. If there are articles or things that people send me, I actually have on my phone, I have on my notes tab, I have a section, and it's just like a blank notes section that I copy and paste any articles, anything that people send me. And because I also want to be in the know of things, but I'm not going to really do that to my nervous system. I've learned I'm not going to do that to my nervous system, especially during days where I need to be productive, days when I need to be there for my family. And if I do come across something, I need to fully process it in my body. And so, number one, you want to set aside a time where you actually can consume these things. And when you consume these things, notice, maybe journal, what is coming up for you? What are some of the feelings that you are feeling? Because we also want to pay attention to some of the emotions that we don't regularly get to feel. Because again, our emotions are they are literally just red flags to kind of show, okay, what parts of our body need more support? What parts of our body need more attention, more love? And did you know that even in Chinese medicine, there are certain organs that correspond to certain emotions, like the lungs. Lungs are a sign of grief. Where are you suppressing your grief? Like your liver, that's a sign of anger. Where are you suppressing your anger and your rage? Do we need to do certain rituals and practices? I just talked about in one of my last solo casts, which I'll link it here, on the beauty and the ritual of a rage ritual and a rage practice. We even have a rage room where you can throw pillows, and I have a punching bag for myself, and to allow yourself with the right music to fully express an emote. Right? We don't want to take that anger out on other people. We don't want to hit other people. We don't want to, and we wouldn't want our children to do that either. So what is a safe and effective way that we can allow and express our emotions? What's a safe and effective way that we can allow and express our grief? This morning, I was, driving to R&B slow jams, and there was some music that I would listen to during a breakup, and I was like, oh man, this is making me so emo in my feels. I was almost crying, and then I'm like, nope, wait, I'm gonna save this, and I put that in my notes pad on my phone, because I know I'm gonna come back to that song to elicit a particular emotion. This has been such a beautiful practice, so that I can help myself in experiencing those feelings and emotions that typically I wouldn't do on the day-to-day basis. Now, you might ask, Neeta, what happens if you come across something, come across a news post, come across something in your feed, and it just takes your day out. All right, loves. I see you. 98% of you watching right now are not subscribed, and that's totally cool, and I so appreciate it. But if you're enjoying this episode, if this is dropping valuable content for you, then why not join our fam? By subscribing, you'll never miss a beat, especially on the amazing tips, advice, and insights that we have on our incredible guests from around the world. Plus, you'll get a chance to win some incredible prizes, and it's absolutely free. It keeps us connected to everything that we're doing and helps us get even more and more incredible guests. And it would mean the world to me if you could just hit the subscribe button, and I promise to make you even more valuable content. And I will tell you the same thing that basically I've taught to many of our students is play a Rage song from the Rage playlist. I have one on Spotify. You can go look it up. It's probably underneath the Bhushan. You can grab it. It's my Rage playlist. And I play one of those songs and I rage for those 3 minutes. And I throw pillows. I even have pillows in my office so that I get the emotions out. Or I'm jumping and I'm screaming and I'm shaking. Why? Because all of these things, it allows the lymphatic system in my body to change up the energy. The movement allows me to fully shift what I'm feeling, where I'm feeling it. Usually I feel it in my chest. And I kind of take a survey and I look inward. Okay, where is this feeling heavy and big? Sometimes it's in my lower back. Oh, I guess, wonder why. Where is your liver, right? Well, your kidneys are in your back, but where are those organs, right? And so we want to pay attention and we want to be able to honor what we are actually feeling. So you set aside those 3 minutes. And then guess what? When you're shaking, if you've ever shaken your hands, if you can do this right now for the next 10 seconds, what happens when you're shaking? And I know if you're in the car, you're probably hearing this, but what happens when you shake? Your hands get tingly. There's energy, or in Chinese medicine, you say there's qi. The qi energy in between your hands are tingling. And you notice as your hands grow wider apart from each other, you can still feel the tingly sensation. Imagine if you've just shaken your body for 10 seconds. Jump up and down, shake, move your hair around. Imagine how then calming it feels for your nervous system. This is the importance of the transmutation, the transmuting of the feelings. This is how, when we can actually feel the anger and the rage, there's a way that we can transmute it. This is just one of the ways. Another one of the ways that I've spoken about in the past is we can open up our throat and we can scream or we can hum. Or we can buzz. Buzz. These are all listed in my book, That Suck Now What? I will link it in the show notes on how you can get a copy for free. Now, this is huge. Why? Because it also activates our vagus nerve. Our vagus nerve is that nerve that runs from our entire body, from our head to our toes. And it actually is responsible for signaling our relaxation response to stress. So which is why those same tunes that you probably were jamming to, that was maybe The End of the Road. Shout out to Boys to Men. That was the song. It gets me all in my feels, gets me so emotional after a breakup. Shout out to my 8th grade class. Whew. Okay, but when you're tuning in, those feelings of sadness and you're crying and you're just singing at the top of your voice, the sadness and the grief of a loss or losing a loved one can now transmute into joy or peace. Peace is a higher vibration. It's a higher vibration on the scale of consciousness in the emotional Hawkins scale of consciousness. There's peace, there's love, and then of course the highest is joy, appreciation, gratitude. But when we're coming from a place of sadness or grief, which is low, and then we're transmuting that into peace because we've just sang a tune and maybe we cried when we were singing that, wow. Then going back to what we've learned, or one of my favorite movies that I'm going to go back to, which is Inside Out 2. Inside Out 1 was really great. Inside Out 2 is just so amazing because Riley has some new emotions that she's dealing with. And it teaches us the beauty that we cannot have joy without sadness. We can't have anger without gratitude. We have to be able to transmute those feelings, and they go hand in hand. And that's why we need both. That's why we can't just be positive all the time. And that's why if we are only vibrating and only operating in the positive, how can we balance that to really, instead of shoving some of these feelings under a rug, shoving some of the feelings, and some of you have written to me and say, but I feel so hopeless. I don't want to look at that stuff. I don't want to read that stuff. I feel so helpless. I can't really do anything. The question is, okay, where do you feel hopeless or helpless in your own life? What is so bad about feeling these emotions that we're burying it under a rug? And what can those emotions illuminate in us so that we can actually do a cleansing, a clearing out of what no longer is? Maybe we still need to grieve that 8th grade breakup, or the rage and the anger we feel because somebody slighted us on social media that we haven't really done our work for. Well, we haven't shook it out, right? So now here are some practices and ways. These are just some of the things that you can do. We just talked about opening up our throat, singing a tune, transmuting that, opening up the rage, the shaking, the moving our hands to create that chi. And what does that chi create? That tingly effect. Again, the relaxation response. So this is just our body's way of telling us, okay, these are the emotions I might be suppressing. There might be a slight chance. Why? Why am I so afraid of them? The next time you want to push aside a feeling or go into your positivity state, what are we afraid of? And I know in the manifestation world, and there's a whole slew of you, and I love you all. I've also been to Joe Dispenza not too long ago, and I get it. He wants us to program our brains only focusing on the positive, only focusing on what we can do. But here's where I differ, because all of these other emotions are just as beautiful. Like we learned in Inside Out 2. They are just as more beautiful because then we have such a bigger capacity to hold. So then when our kids grow up and they do have their first heartbreak, it's not going to break them down completely because they have learned to manage frustration. They have a high frustration tolerance. They've built their resiliency. They've built their emotional capacity to feel. When your kid is asking you to go on a fancy trip or getting a car at 15 or 16, they're not going to go wild when you're saying absolutely not, or when your kid is whining and having the biggest meltdown because they want a phone, because they've learned the bigness of feeling their feels, feeling the grief, feeling the sadness, feeling the rejection, that they're not always going to have their way. This is that work. This is that work. And I know I'm saying it in context of our children, but even when we get rejected from our business idea, from the thing that we worked so hard on, from the fact that we worked so hard on this one idea and now it's just failing to bits, or the fact that you've worked 5 years on something and now you just get fired. This is our building our muscle for our emotional capacity to fully feel. In a world where everything is on our fingertips, in a world where we can choose what kind of news that we can watch or not watch. But it's numbing one side of the equation. And it's not allowing us to fully feel the full grasp of what it means to be human. And in this human experience, that there is going to be loss, there is going to be sadness, there is going to be hardship, there is going to be things that you work so hard on and it just does not manifest for whatever reason. We have to be open to both, and that's how we grow. And one thing that I want to just leave you with is these are all the tools, and so many of these tools are in my 5-time award-winning book. And, That Suck Now What? How to Embrace the Joy in Chaos and Find Magic in the Mess, because we truly can find magic in the mess. There is magic everywhere, and there's also darkness. And darkness also gives light to new things. It's how we have evolved as a human species. It's how we've innovated. It's how we've changed. It's how we've grown. It's how we've expanded when we are feeling the moments of discomfort. I am learning to embrace all of me, my sadness, my anger, my rage, and also my beauty, my depth, my passion, and love. They can all coexist. Let me remind you of that. Your action step for today. It's okay to feel paradoxical feelings. One moment you can be sad, and one moment you can be laughing hysterically. Watch a rom-com this week, just an observer. There's a reason why all of the emotions are brought up. What did you notice about yourself? And did you feel constricted or expanded? Ooh, got something juicy to ponder on today. If you're curious about this, I'll link these cards in the show notes. I want to hear from you. What aspect of this are you navigating? What are you struggling with? Has this kind of reached a new potential for you? Drop a comment below. If you're watching this and you're new, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss a beat. If you're watching this or listening to this on iTunes and Spotify, give a thumbs up, like this, share this with a friend or family member, share this with somebody who needs to be a little bit more brave in navigating their emotions, as well as I will link 3 additional episodes in the show notes below so that you can go and dive deeper into your emotional health journey. This is the season for it. And if you haven't already, we would so love if you leave a review for us on iTunes. It helps us grow and expand the show more than you know and get us into the hands of more and more people. I love, love, love hearing from you and how this has really impacted your life in whatever way. I always love hearing from you. So comment below or tag us on stories at The Brave Table or at Neeta Bhushan, and I will see you next time.